Hello. How are you? See everyone. So there's a lot to talk about. It's a double Parsha. It's a Metzora. Also,
The sound is funny, Rabbi.
sound is funny. How about now? How is now? Are you able to hear?
Sound is bad.
No, it's not clear.
Really?
It's not clear.
Sound is not clear. Let's see.
Are we clear?
Yeah, I hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, we are.
Let me figure out why you say the sound is not clear. I can hear them, but I can't hear me. Clearly. That's very right there.
It sounds garbled a little bit.
Okay, so I'm gonna go off for a minute and then I'll be back.
Oh. Do. What was that? You're going out?
Any better? Is it any better now?
No.
No, okay.
It might be, I don't hear you, you said?
Maybe reboot.
Laptop is damaged.
Oh, really?
That's just what,
Maybe is the mic plugged in well?
Mic, it's part of the laptop.
Uh-oh.
It's not the sound. The sound
I'm busy slurping.
really damaged. Is it? It's totally not clear. It's not clear at all. It's not clear. Wow.
You sound like you're in a fish bowl,
Oh.
but you're not a fish.
It sounds very scratchy. I never heard it before. You wouldn't want to record like this.
Can you log off and then log back on?
I don't want to end it. Just go out myself.
The laptop has a Yetzer Hara.
It's the email we sent out. Oh, that was Tuesday. Okay. Are you able?
Whoa. It's like the 60s.
Okay. Are you able to hear me now?
Yeah, now it's good.
This we have to shut sort of. Why is it echoing?
Yeah.
Take the computer to mommy. He goes, get rid of the computer and tell mommy the problem. Maybe she can figure it out. Okay, so I'm going to do this on the phone. Is anyone still here?
Yes. Oh,
Okay. So why can't I see anyone? Oh, here we are.
much better.
Okay. So there's a lot to talk about. It's Shabbos Tazria, Metzora, double Torah portion. And the main theme of the Torah portion is the leprosy. And we call it leprosy, really has nothing to do with leprosy. There's no cure for leprosy. Here we talk about a cure, quarantine. This is where the concept of quarantining comes from. But then they quarantined the leper. They didn't quarantine everyone else. They quarantined the leper. And the Kohen would check after a week, 2, 3, and see if there's any improvement. Leprosy, as we know it today, there's no improvement. So we just call it leprosy, but really it's a spiritual ailment that only afflict the Jewish people, and only during the temple, when the Jewish people were on a very, very high spiritual level. As the Torah starts out, Adam. Adam means a perfect person, a complete person. The highest name for man is Adam, like the primordial man, like Adam, the very first person created by God himself, who was in the Garden of Eden. So Adam. It happens to be Ba'ur, only on the skin. His problem is skin deep. It only affects the skin besada of the meat. And even the all it is nega. It's just a mada. Mada is just the appearance of the skin. There's nothing wrong with the skin, just the appearance of the skin. There's a white spot. And nega comes from the Hebrew word nega. It only touches, it's only touching. So it's only touching the surface, barely touching the surface, the outer surface, the skin, and only the color of the skin, the discoloration of the skin. So we're talking about a perfect person who is on the highest spiritual level, like a spiritual giant. Internally, he's so healthy and so robust that if there's anything negative, it's expelled to the surface. It shows up as a discoloration, a white discoloration, which only affects the most superficial part, the skin. And that's why today we don't have it, because today the evil is not on the skin. We carry it with us, it's internal. In other words, when the person's immune system is so robust, spiritual immune system is so healthy and vibrant and robust, that it rejects, it spits out and rejects anything negative, any negativity. And what is Metzora? Metzora is 2 names, 2 words, Metzora. Someone who speaks things that he shouldn't be speaking. Lashon hara. So what do you mean that it's only skin deep? Lashon hara, slandering someone, abusing the power of speech that Hashem gave us. Instead of using our mouth to communicate love and kindness and goodness and words of comfort, and instead we use this gift, this precious gift that Hashem gave us, this ability to speak, we use it to be snide and to slander and to cancel, destroy, bully. We use it for negativity. And that's the punishment for Metzora is for Metzora, for Metzora Shemra for Metzora is tzaras. You become a leper. So what do you mean it's only skin deep? It's very vicious. A person who uses his tongue to slander people, to ruin and destroy people's reputations, people's livelihoods, people's lives. This is viciously evil. This is not skin deep. But we're talking about a Lashon hara, which is, no one sets aside a time for Lashon hara. It's not like a premeditated crime. You're just happening to speak, and you're schmoozing, and you just happen to speak a little excessive, say something that may be inappropriate or insinuate something negative about another person. So it's an abuse of speech, because our speech has to be very guarded, has to be very careful. That's why Hashem created many guardrails for the tongue. There's teeth, there's two teeth that the tongue hides behind, there's two lips. And yet it doesn't help. None of these guardrails help. We just go straight through it. And we just speak and speak and speak things that we shouldn't be speaking. But for most cases, it's not premeditated. It's not coming from a viciously evil place to destroy him, how to destroy another person, destroy his reputation, ruin his life, cancel his job. That's viciously evil. People who do that are absolute evil. We're not talking about such evil people. They're monsters. But most cases, Lashon hara is you're bullshoving, you're schmoozing, you're going out, you're talking, and you just talk a little too much and say a little too much and reveal a little too much. And even doesn't take much, a little slander, a little insinuation, and you can communicate and convey something negative about another person. So it could be it's skin deep. So because you're abusing this powerful force that Hashem gave us, the power of speech, which is what characterizes man. The way the Torah defines man is that we are a speaker. We are a creature who can speak. Animals can't speak. We have the ability to speak. This is what distinguishes us from animals. So when we abuse this special gift that Hashem gave us, so then they would break out into tzaras. The skin would become discolored. But again, this only happened in the times of the temple when the Jews were in a very high level. And that was the only problem they had. This very skin deep problem. It wasn't so deep, very on the surface. Today, where the evil is internal, if every time we spoke Lashon hara, we would become discolored. So therefore it doesn't apply today. So the whole thing was miraculous. The whole thing was a miraculous phenomenon. It was a spiritual illness. It was like a psychosomatic illness. It was a spiritual somatic illness. It was purely a spiritual affliction that manifested itself in a physical form. And that's why, who do you go to? Which doctor do you go to? Dr. Cohen. You go to the Cohen. He is the spiritual doctor. And he is the only one who can diagnose the illness, identify and diagnose the illness. And he is the only one who can cure you from the illness. Why the Kohen? Because the Kohen is the spiritual doctor. The Kohen is the Jew who has a window to the soul. The highest Jew. Because although it appears to be that this whole illness is skin deep, it's just touching, it's just the skin, it's just the discoloration. But the truth is that it is actually very deep rooted. And that's why man is called speaker. That's what distinguishes us. In the Western dictionary, man is defined as a rational animal. We're rational. That's what distinguishes us. We have a mind, we have a brain, we have a mind, we can think, we can wonder, animals can think, they can't wonder, and can self-reflect, reflect on themselves, reflect on the world around them, try to understand what's it all about, what's the meaning of life, what's the purpose of life. Animals don't have the capacity. Man, we have the ability to imagine, to wonder, to think, to understand. So doesn't it make more sense that that should be the distinguishing quality of man? That we are sichli, we are rational beings. And that's not how the Torah defines us. The Torah defines us that we are speakers. We have the ability to speak. It's true, we have that ability to speak, and that does distinguishes us from all the other animals. But isn't the ability to think even a higher ability? So why does the Torah characterize us as speakers? Because speech actually is very deep-rooted, even beyond the capacity to imagine, to think. And that's why speech is very revealing. You know what we call like a Freudian slip? When a person says something, it's actually very revealing. You think it's just a Freudian slip. Sometimes we surprise ourselves, we shock ourselves. Where did that come from? I said it, came from me, I said it, but where did that come from? Sometimes you say something inadvertently, but that's a giveaway. That's a window to the soul. That reveals what's going on deep down inside, our subconscious. So speech is rooted in our subconscious. It's much deeper than just intellect. That's why we find that speech, although it appears that speech is the lowest level, all speech does is it conveys what's going on inside of you. You want to communicate and convey to someone else what you're feeling, your thoughts, what you're thinking. So you speak. So it's only a revelation of what's there. It doesn't add anything. You would think speech doesn't add anything. It's just revealing what's going on inside. You're communicating to others because others have no idea what's going on inside. Unless you speak, I have no idea what you're feeling. I have no idea what you're thinking. So speech reveals to others what's going on inside of me. But speech is just a vehicle. It's just communicating. It's just revealing, transporting my feelings to another place, to other people, that they can know what's happening inside of me. But the truth is, it's not true. Speech is much more than just a revelation of what's going on inside. When a person speaks, many times you find when a person speaks, it's like fountains of wisdom open up while you're speaking. The teacher, that's what the Talmud says. I learned a lot from my teachers. I learned more from my friends, my colleagues, and I learned the most from my students. Because when the teacher has to teach and communicate to his students, as he's speaking, the fountains of wisdom open up and suddenly new insights pop into his head. He has a deeper, new understanding, even before he can't teach unless he understands. So he already understands the subject, thoroughly understands it, and understands it so well that he even finds the words how to convey and to communicate this idea. But when you're actually speaking and communicating, it taps into your subconscious. And suddenly your mind opens up almost like 1,000-fold, and new ideas come in, and your whole understanding is on a whole different level. So we see that speech is not skin deep. Speech is not just superficial. Speech is not just a revelation of what's going on inside and nothing more. It's just a vehicle, a transportation. I'm transporting my emotions and my intellect to others so others can know what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling. No, speech is much deeper than that. Speech is very revealing. Speech connects and taps into your subconscious. And therefore, when you speak, it opens up new fountains of wisdom for your wisdom. New windows open up into your wisdom. So this is the distinguishing quality of man is his speech. And also we find even when it comes to emotions, one of the ways to control your emotions, it says in the holy books, when a person, let's say, gets angry, you feel like you're losing your temper or your emotions are very raw and very intense, but you're afraid you're out of control. You may get out of control. So what's the best answer? Keep quiet. Because if you speech just is like pours kerosene on the fire. When you speak, it expands. The emotion expands 1,000-fold. And all of a sudden, before you were angry, now you're raging. Now you're like a raging volcano, totally out of control. When you speak, you're quiet. At least you're not feeding that emotion. You're not expanding it. You're not allowing it to expand totally out of control. That's the power of speech. Speech has the power to open things up. So speech is very revealing. A Freudian slip actually reveals your subconscious. And sometimes we surprise ourselves. Where did this come from? Because we have our conscious self, which could be a construct. It could be a personality, a character we constructed, we built over time. This is who I am. This is how I present myself. This is who I think I am. And in the moment of truth, you say one word that reveals who you really are. And it could be, it's totally not who you think you are. It's not your conscious self, this construct that you built, which is superficial. That's superficial. But it reveals what's going on in the subconscious. So you have a problem. The fact that you can speak Lashon Hara, you can abuse this gift that Hashem gave us and use it to slander another person or to speak negatively about another person, or excessive speech, unproductive speech. It's not simple. It's not just skin deep. It's revealing that there's something very deeply wrong with me. So who can help me? Only the Kohen. The Kohen, who's the highest Jew, who has a window to the subconscious. He can help me address the root cause of my problem. So the first thing we have to quarantine. Social distancing. This is where social distancing came from. He's kicked out of town, away from everyone. He has to be away from everyone. Even from his wife for a week or maybe two or whatever, or 3 sometimes, he's away. For 2 weeks, he's away. He's quarantined. So firstly, he can't speak Lashon Hara. There's no one to speak to. So that's so we solve the symptom. We immediately solve that if you're not fit for human consumption, if you're not fit to live in society, if you don't know how to use your mouth, if you don't know how to watch your mouth, if you don't know how to use your mouth, if you're abusing this gift that Hashem gave us, step number 1 is away from people. But the Kohen is really engaging in this Jew, trying to address the root cause of the problem. When the Torah says, don't slander another Jew, what the Torah is telling us is, it's not just superficially and externally zipper your mouth and don't speak negatively about another person. I mean, that's very superficial. What the Torah is really saying is that you should look with a right eye at another Jew. You should look with a positive. You should see the other person positive. It's not that your view of the other person is nasty, but it's too nasty to speak, so I keep it quiet. I keep it to myself. I mean, that's better than nothing, but that's just the symptom. If you want to address the root cause, it's the Kohen. The Kohen is a lover of the Jewish people. He loves every Jew. When the Kohen makes the priestly blessing, the blessings, it says to bless the Jewish people with love. If there's someone in the congregation that the Kohen hates or is angry with, he's not allowed to go up and duchen. He's not allowed to go and bless. It's dangerous for him to bless because he's a conduit for godliness. And the only way to be a conduit for godliness is through unity and through love and kindness. And if he can't find it in his heart to feel one with every member in the congregation, then it's dangerous for him. He's not allowed to go up. He's not allowed to fulfill his duty of giving the blessings. So the Kohen, who has a window to the soul, the Kohen who's a lover of Jews, who sees the good in everyone. Lashon Hara doesn't just mean don't slander another Jew. Why am I seeing anything negative in the other person? That's the problem. A positive person only sees good. We all know it from our own personal experience. When you're in a great mood, all you see is the good in everyone. Even your enemy is not so terrible that day. You're marrying off your child, even your enemy is not so bad. You see good in everyone. When you're in a rotten mood, suddenly, even in your best friend is not good enough. You start finding and seeing negativity. Who changed? Nobody changed. The only one that changed is you. So what does that tell you? It has nothing to do with the other person. If you're a positive person and you're filled with positive energy, all I focus is on the positive. All I see is positivity. Because I am positive. My life is full. I'm busy. I'm engaged. My life is satisfying, is fulfilling. So all I focus on is positive energy, and positive energy attracts positive energy. That's what the people I hang out with. That's what I see all around me. That's what I see in this world. I look at this world, I see positive. You tell the story of the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. The two Hasidim came to see him, had a private audience with him. They're both from the city of Dakshitz. And the one chassid comes into the Rebbe and starts complaining about his city. He says, it's terrible. Nobody prays properly. Nobody learns. There's no one. I tried to make a shir and no one is interested. It's just terrible. Then another chassid, also from the same city, comes in, and the Rebbe asks him, how is life in Dakshitz? What's going on in the Hasidic community in Dakshitz, the Lubavitch community? Rebbe, it's beautiful. People davening, people are learning, we're farbringing, it's beautiful. So the previous Rebbe said, you think I don't know what's going on in Dakshitz? I wanted to find out which Dakshitz the chassid is living in. The first chassid, all he saw was negativity because his life was empty. He was empty. So all he saw around him, all he focused on was all the emptiness. The other chassid, his life was full, his life was meaningful, his life was positive. All he focused on, all he noticed, and all he saw around him is all that positivity. And that's the power of Lashon Hara, and that's the opposite. It's opposite, the power of Lashon Tov. The reason why Lashon Hara is so terrible, and the Talmud says Lashon Hara kills three people. The one who speaks, the audience who's listening, and the one you're speaking about. Why? He's a victim. Why does he get punished? The answer is not a punishment. It's the power of Lashon Hara, the power of what you focus on. Because when you speak, and speech is revealing, when you speak about another person's negativity, by focusing on another person's negativity, the power of speech brings out, reveals and brings out all the negativity. It comes oozing out. So you make that other person's life very challenging. We all have negativity within us. Every one of us. We're a combination of good and evil, every one of us. But many times the evil within us can remain dormant. We can go through our entire life and it will remain dormant. But if you focus on it and you speak about it, and someone else is speaking about your evil and your negativity and your challenges and your shortcomings, that in itself causes all that negativity to ooze out, and suddenly it becomes a challenge. You make my life impossible and very challenging. You're killing me. Of course I'm a victim, but you're killing me. You're harming me personally. So how much more so when you speak Lashon Tov, by speaking positively about another person, focusing on another person's goodness, and is good, that alone could cause all that latent, hidden potential for good to come oozing out. Suddenly it emerges, suddenly it becomes a force in the person's life. So you saved his life, you're helping him. So a person who's positive focuses on the positive, only sees the good. He doesn't have the energy, he doesn't have the time for negativity. Not that he's foolish, he doesn't see what's going on around him, he doesn't get excited about it, he doesn't have the energy. I'm busy, life is so meaningful, life is so full, I don't have time for negative. And all I see in the other person is positive. And that alone brings out the positivity, the positive energy of all those around them. Positive energy attracts positive energy. So you surround yourself with positive people, positive friends, and each one supports each other and brings out the best in each other. That's the power of Lashon Tov. Lashon Hara has the exact opposite effect. It means you're negative, you're empty, your life is empty and meaningless. So you're miserable, you're angry, you're full of rage, you're down, you're cynical, you're negative. So all you see around you is all the negativity. And by focusing and speaking about all that negativity, it sounds like all the talk shows today and all the news today, that alone brings out all the negativity, causes all the negativity to ooze out. So it's extremely detrimental, extremely harmful, and it becomes like a vicious cycle that just rolls downhill from there, gets from bad to worse. So the kohen, by locking up the Metzora, not only is the kohen dealing with the symptom, but the kohen is the right one to deal with the root cause, to teach the Jew, to access the subconscious, to cause a shift, a deep inner shift and change in the whole outlook, and get the person to see the goodness and to see and to get in touch with that inner depth. And then the person not only won't speak negative, he won't even see negative. And then the tzaras will cure, will heal up. The discoloration will disappear. That's just a symptom. But if you address the root cause and you heal the person at the source, then you can cause a healing. And here we see that it's not a punishment. It's not that the Torah is punishing a person. Quarantining is considered a drastic measure. It appears to be a drastic punishment. A person was created to be social. We're not meant to be quarantined. It's contrary to our nature. Here they quarantined the whole world for over a year. It's contrary to human nature. It's very detrimental. Only now we're beginning to wrap our mind to grasp the damage that was done, permanent damage that was done to the children. This not only ruined their childhood, it ruined their entire lives. These children, these young teenagers are psychologically ruined, messed up for life. With this quarantining for no rhyme and reason, there was no reason to quarantine children for a year. The damage, children committing suicide in numbers we've never heard before, seen before. Just in Manhattan the other week, what was it, a 12 years old? That it's cruel. The people who did this are criminals. And that includes the teachers' union. So it's very unnatural to quarantine. It's not normal. You don't do that. You're not allowed to do that. And that's why it's only the Kohen who can do it. Because a Kohen is a lover of Jews. You know that a Kohen would never do it only if there was no other option. And he wouldn't rest at night. He wouldn't sleep at night. You know, they interviewed the mayor. You know what he said? Yes, I mean, it's like you fall off your chair when you hear this. They asked him, what was the biggest lesson he learned from this whole experience that New York City went through, you know, the COVID, and you know what he said? The importance of sleep. The importance of sleep. People are dying in tens of thousands, and he learned the importance of sleep. The Kohen wouldn't sleep at night, wouldn't rest until he cures and gets this guy out of quarantine as soon as possible, helps him heal from his discoloration, because he loves to condemn someone to quarantining is the cruelest thing you can do in life. It's so unnatural for a person. So the Kohen is restless. The Kohen can't sleep at night. He's going to do everything in his power to cure this person, to help him, and not just cure the symptom, but cure the root cause and restore him and bring him back to civilization, to society, to living, bring him back to normal. So only a Kohen, who there's not even a trace of political considerations or ego. It's absolutely pure. He's a lover of Jews. So if he condemns a Jew and says you have to be quarantined, it's coming from a pure place. And therefore there's no other choices, no options. So we must take the most drastic measures. It says a Metzora is considered like dead. Quarantining a human being is like killing a person. It's the worst thing you can do in the world. Thank God today we had the Zoom and the internet, because otherwise it would literally be impossible. So Hashem saved us and helped us, that we still had forms of communication and being in touch with each other. But it's so unnatural. But so only a lover of Jews like a Kohen, if he condemns a Jew and says you have to be quarantined, it's coming from a pure place. There's zero political calculations. There's no other choice. We have to help. We have to cure you. We have to heal you, and he'll do everything in his power to make sure that it's as short as possible. A week, maximum 2 weeks, not a year. We do whatever is possible to restore and to reconnect and to bring him back to his fellow man, which is essential for life, essential for our psychological well-being, which is essential for healing, because a person has to have a healthy immune system. The best way to fight illness is if a person feels alive and joyful. When you frighten everyone and you paralyze people and you put the fear into them, it's not only psychologically detrimental, it's physically detrimental. So the Torah is teaching us it's not a punishment. God forbid, not God is punishing him. He spoke lashon hara, your skin is discolored, and we are punishing you. The worst severe punishment, we're quarantining you. It's not a punishment. It's a medicine. It's curing you. We're here to cure you. We care about you. And we're here to resolve the problem at its core, at the root, to make a transformation. Only the Kohen, the spiritual doctor, he can help you make that transformation, to reorient yourself, to reveal your subconscious and to transform your whole way of looking at life. You need a resetting, a reset. You have to totally reshift and reorient yourself, the way you look at others, the way you look at people, what you're looking for in life, and totally change and shift around your whole outlook by going deeper, tapping into your subconscious, revealing all that hidden good, that hidden depth that you have inside of you. And when you connect and you make contact with the subconscious, and you're able to make that inner shift, that immediately shows up, that the discoloration disappears. And then you're cured and you're declared pure and you can come back. You immediately, then you remove from your quarantining, and then you're able to come back to your family, to your community, to come back to human life, start living again. It says a Metzora is compared to a dead person. A person who is to be quarantined is like dead, as good as dead. When you come back and you reconnect and you're brought back to life, it's like bringing back someone to life. And that's critical, and it's essential, and it's urgent. There's a sense of urgency. Who has that sense of urgency? The Cohen, Dr. Cohen. The Cohen, because he really cares. He cares about you. You're not a statistic. You're not a number. You're a real person with a real life. And you have a real issue. And he's going to help him with the issue. And he addresses the total person, the total patient, the totality of the person. And once a person changes inside, then he's ready to go back. Anyway, there's a lot to talk about. This is just the surface. We're touching the surface. There's so many aspects to talk about, but let's just open up. Anyone has any questions, comments, thoughts? I mean, it's a fascinating, Metzora is one of the most fascinating phenomenons in the Torah. So if anyone please speak up, unmute yourself.
I have a question.
Hi, Rita, hi.
Hi. So, Lashon Hara, what if you're criticizing because you don't agree with someone, you're disagreeing with them? Is that considered Lashon Hara?
No, if you're arguing, the whole Talmud is filled with arguments, and they fought like cats and dogs, but they loved each other. Arguing is not there's nothing wrong with arguing, and arguing can be very sharp differences. God created a right arm and he created a left arm. He created conservatives and he created liberals. It's two different ways of looking at the same reality with two different underlying assumptions. You know, the cup is half full, the cup is half empty. Which one is right, which one is wrong? They're both right. It's two different perspectives. One sees the cup as half empty, the half that's empty, and one sees the cup as half full. They have the prosecutor, you have the defense. They're talking about the same person, the same circumstances. This one sees all the negativity, the prosecutor, and the defense sees all the positive. It's not a right or wrong. It's two different perspectives. That's how Hashem created us. And there's nothing wrong with having differences of opinion. Since when is having differences of opinion a problem? It's only today that suddenly, if you don't agree with someone, how dare you disagree with me? You have to be canceled, you have to be bullied, you have to be ruined, destroyed. I mean, people are so arrogant. Who the heck you think you are? So someone disagrees with you. So.
But if you disagree behind their back, like you're talking to a friend and saying, would you believe what this person said? You know, he's so liberal and I'm conservative. And so you're kind of behind their back, disagreeing and criticizing.
Yeah, that would be Lashon Hara. I mean, firstly, you can talk about disagreements without mentioning anyone's name, but speaking about an individual person behind their back, that would qualify as Lashon Hara. If you have a disagreement, it should be in the open. Listen, you say this opinion and confront them. You know, if you are able to have a disagreement openly, say, listen, I am sorry, I disagree with you. I see things differently, and that's fine. It's fine. But you're open about it. You're not behind. Why be behind the back? You know, unless you're worried they're going to cancel you and you're going to lose your job. You know, we're living in crazy times. But then again, when you're telling others about it, you can don't have to mention names. You can say, if you want to talk about the concept, look how ridiculous it is that you're not allowed to disagree anymore, and anyone who disagrees is immediately loses their job and the livelihood and the reputation. You don't have to mention names. You can talk about it in concept. Look how ridiculous it is. That's fine. But if you into name calling, you're around the that already could be Lashon Hara. Yeah, it is. Unless you're having an open conversation with that person, and that's the way it should be, and that's the way it always was. It's only in today's day and age that people won't talk to you. If you disagree with them, they don't talk to you anymore.
Right.
How can I talk to you? You disagree with me, which is it just shows on what a low energy and low level that person is. That person is zero confidence in this position. He has zero, there's no logic to his position, and there's no confidence in his position. he has to resort to destroying you, to calling you names, to insulting you, because he has no argument. When a person has no argument, so he has to tear you down and rip you apart and try to bully you into submission. It's an admission of failure. It's an admission that the guy has no argument, the person has no position, the person has no leg to stand on. If he has to resort to that, if a person really has a position, you can argue, and we can argue very sharply, and yet we can still be friends. Politics used to be that way. Remember Tip O'Neill and Reagan, they were best friends. This is ultra conservative. He is ultra liberal from Massachusetts, I believe, and yet personally, we have disagreements. So what? But we like each other, we respect each other. So who cares? So we have disagreements, and sharp disagreements, but that's fine. Since when did it become a federal crime to have a disagreement with someone? If you dare disagree with me, I can't even talk to you. I mean, it's so childish. It's so immature. But unfortunately, that's the world we live in today.
Can I ask another question? What is I don't want to say what is your opinion about the vaccine, but what is the religious point of view on the vaccine?
Whatever my opinion is, it's personal. I'm not speaking as a rabbi, and I'm not speaking as the Torah. I don't know what the Torah would say. Torah would say you have to consult with a few doctors. The Rabbi would always tell everyone that before you do anything, get 2 or 3 opinions from doctors. Ideally, if you have a doctor who's also your best friend, so then you have the best of both worlds. You have an expert opinion, because the truth is that my opinion is not necessarily it has any value to it, because what do I know about medicine? Someone who's been studying medicine and practicing medicine, and his whole life is medicine for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, he has an opinion. He can say something. Of course, you have to trust him. He's not a politician. He's not a doctor turned politician. But if he's a genuine doctor, a healer, he dedicated his life to healing, and he's knowledgeable, and he's educated, and he has experience. That's what he makes his living from helping people and helping cure people. And if he's also your best friend, so you know that the advice he's going to give you is like mother's milk. He'll give you the same advice he would give his own mother, his own father. So you know that he cares about you, and his advice has value because he's an expert. So if you can find such a doctor who's also your best friend, and maybe you shouldn't even, the Rabbi says, get 2 opinions. If one doctor says this, then get a 3rd opinion. If he's insulted, many doctors get insulted when you consult another doctor. How dare, they're very arrogant. So that's the biggest proof that you have to get a 2nd opinion, because a real doctor, get a 2nd opinion. He'll say that if what I'm telling you is correct, he'll say the same thing. All roads lead to Jerusalem, if that's the emes. And if one doctor tells you A, another doctor tells you B, the opposite, then get a 3rd opinion. So like anything else, we have to take responsibility for our own lives. That's the Torah's approach. Torah's approach to medicine, like anything else in life, is we are the only ones in charge of our life. No doctor is in charge of my life. I am in charge of my life. The doctor is the expert, and I turn to him and I respect his opinion. The Torah says you have to respect the opinion of the doctor, but ultimately it's my decision. And if a doctor says, don't ask another doctor, say goodbye, and I am going to ask another doctor, and you should get another opinion. If the 2nd doctor corroborates the 1st doctor, then you know that the doctor gave you good advice. If not, get a 3rd opinion and follow the majority. And that's if you can't find the doctor. How many of us know doctors who are also our best friends? It's very rare. But if you can find a best friend who's also an expert, ask him his opinion. He knows you, he knows the circumstance, he studied it, he has life experience in this subject. By the way, it has nothing to do with brilliance. There are people who are brilliant minds, Einstein. But if Einstein doesn't make a living from medicine, his opinion is worthless. It's very nice what he says. I'm sure it's a nice, interesting opinion. But in this situation about vaccines, what does Einstein know about vaccines? Did he spend his life studying vaccines? Did he spend his life studying medicine? He didn't. He's studying physics. So just because a person is brilliant, many brilliant people have this problem. Because they think they're brilliant, and they are brilliant, they think that it's what's the big deal? I'll study it, I'll read an article, I'll listen to an opinion, and I'll come to a conclusion. It's childish, it's silly. Only someone who's immersed in medicine, immersed in this field, in any field, in any area in life. You want an opinion about building? Don't talk to Einstein. Talk to a builder who's lost millions and made millions in building. He has life experience. He knows what building is. His advice is worthwhile. Anyone else's is worthless. So with all due respect, you're asking a rabbi what he thinks about vaccines. Well, what do I know about vaccines?
I thought maybe there was a religious
articles.
standard.
Yeah, I read the same articles you read, and I have strong opinions, but that's really not of interest to anyone. What the Torah does say is that we have to take responsibility for our life. Don't just do it. You have to make a decision. You have to consult. You have to ask again. Don't be shy. Don't be embarrassed. If a doctor tries to bully you into anything, because he's the authority, run for the hills. Because it's my decision. It's my life. Who do you think you are? Just because you're wearing a white coat, you're going to dictate my life? It's my health you're talking about here. You can't tell me, well, 90% of people, it's okay. I'm not a statistic. Maybe I'm from that 10% that, God forbid, something could happen. You can't treat me like a statistic. I'm not a statistic. I'm a human being. I'm a person. I have a life. So if a doctor is arrogant, run for the hills. It's not a doctor for you. Who cares what he says? We can wear 2 masks and wear 3 white coats, and he can be called an expert. You just run. His opinion is worthless to me. What do I care? It's my life. It's my decision. I'm going to consult with a doctor, consult with another doctor, even get 3 opinions, and then you make a decision. But we have to take responsibility. This whole idea of abdicating responsibility to the authority, that's not a Torah approach. So that's one thing I could tell you as a rabbi. The Torah approach is we are responsible for our life. Not the doctor. It's not his life. It's your health that's on the line. It's your life that's on the line. You have to make a decision. Yes, you have to consult with experts. What do I know? I'm not an expert.
Rabbi.
Yes.
It's interesting that we learn Lashon Hora from Miriam, from a woman, from a pure person, and from a family from which she came from. I mean, she's at the highest level.
Right, and that's a perfect analogy for Metzora, because we're not dealing here with viciously evil person who's slandering, who's canceling, who's bullying, who's destroying people's reputation, lying. That's evil. We're talking about like Miriam. The example of Miriam is a perfect example. She meant well. She just innocently said something about Moshe, made a comment about Moshe. She didn't understand. It didn't make sense to her. Instead of speaking to Moshe, asking him, she jumped to conclusions and she spoke. That's exactly the type of Lashon Hara that we're talking about over here. So like excessive speech, inappropriate, which is in a way is abusing the special gift that Hashem gave us. And that's why it's only skin deep. That's why you don't have Metzora today. Because the Lashon Hara of Miriam, that's not the Lashon Hara that we're dealing with today. Here we're dealing with low, vicious, evil, slander, negativity, harming another person. Here we're talking about the most subtlest, her whole mistake wasn't so terrible. And that's why it was only skin deep. There's only the skin and only nega and only the discoloration. But that tells us how we have to treasure this gift that Hashem gave us, how careful we have to be. Hashem gave us such a gift as speech. We have to be extra careful and vigilant to use it only to speak good about other people. It's powerful.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Everyone have a wonderful, wonderful Shabbos. To be continued. We'll have the prayer class next week again on Tuesday. We're up to the small Shema that we say before the davening. Tuesday at 6:30. You can join us live here at the Chabad House or on Zoom. And also we'll discuss the Parsha of the week next week, 7:30. So have a wonderful Shabbos, everyone.
Thank you so much. Good Shabbos. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi.
All the best. Yeah.